another fine fall Monday. Today we're honored to begin the 2025-2026 Senior Speaker Series. For those new to Suffield Academy, this is a cherished tradition and the capstone of the Leadership Department. Each senior addresses our community, sharing a special interest or talent, reading an original poem or story, completing a work of art, or explaining a meaningful life lesson. So please secure your phone and be a great audience for your peers. Ava?
Hi Suffield, my name is Ava Carroll and I'm a four-year senior from Suffield, Connecticut. I was 9 years old when my parents told us we would be moving to Suffield Academy. Hearing you're leaving your childhood home when you expect to live there for the rest of your life is difficult news for any kid to process. My parents sat my brothers and me down at the dinner table, and life as I knew it completely changed. It sounds a little dramatic now, but it was a big change for us kids. 9-year-old Ava enjoyed my life as it was then, and I couldn't really imagine it being any different. I had lived in Suffield my whole life, but I didn't even know Suffield Academy existed. I don't usually like talking about how I'm a faculty kid, but it's a big part of me and my experience at this school, whether I want it to be or not. I don't want it to define me, but it's the reason I'm here. After the move, I began noticing how different everything was from what I'd known. It felt strange because unlike most faculty kids, my brothers and I didn't grow up here. Many of them had been a part of this community their entire lives. They were born here, went to the preschool here, and had known these buildings and traditions for as long as they can remember. This place has been home to them, but it wasn't for me. I had already built a life somewhere else. I had childhood friends, a neighborhood I loved, and a rhythm to my life that felt familiar and comfortable. So when we moved, it felt like my whole world had been swapped out. I was adjusting to a new identity, one that came with expectations I didn't fully understand. Moving into a junior girls' dorm, my parents always told me, these are the sisters you've always wanted. But it did not feel like that to me. I felt like I was intruding whenever I had to ask my dad a question when he was on dorm duty in the common room. I felt like an outsider in my own home. Going into freshman year was when I really felt like in an awkward position. People would ask me, are you a day student or boarder? I would respond with day student when really I was both. Now as a senior, I recognize what a unique experience it is to attend a boarding school that brings together students and teachers from all over the world. Being in this environment gave me a unique perspective on privilege, access, and the many paths people take to the same place. Suffield has allowed me to meet people from all walks of life, people I never would have crossed paths with if my family hadn't made the move. In my time here, I also had my dad as my teacher. People often ask me, did he give you an A because you're his daughter? As soon as I hear this, I feel annoyed, because why would anyone think that my dad would give anyone an easy grade? My whole life, he has taught me the value of hard work and perseverance, whether in sports or academics, and he's always been my biggest cheerleader. I earned my grade not because of favoritism, but because I was accustomed to his teaching style. He's always helped me with my homework or prepare for a test, regardless of the subject. If you forgot the topic, he's always willing to watch a YouTube video and relearn it. I'm so lucky to have my dad by my side and to be able to experience coming to the school. It's a profound privilege to step out of my comfort zone while still being in the comfort of my home. Thank you so much to my friends and family for always being by my side. Thank you also to Mrs. Salvatelli for helping me with my college process, even though I would run you quite often in the summer. Lastly, thank you to Ms. Rawlings. You have been the most kind, understanding, and supportive person on this campus for me. I'm forever grateful for you. Thank you.
Just keep swimming is a phrase most of us recognize from Finding Nemo, a catchy line from a children's movie. Ever since I was young, my grandma would say it to me before every swim meet. When I left home for boarding school, that never changed. Without fail, I get a Just Keep Swimming text with a picture of Dory before each meet, no matter how big or small. I never thought much about it. I assumed she meant it literally, just keep swimming in the pool. But that changed when she started sending me the same message for things that had nothing to do with swimming at all. I would receive the same 3-word text and image during finals week or on days when I was feeling down and missing my friends at home. Over time, the phrase became something so much more. A reminder I would repeat to myself whenever the days at Suffield were dragging on. My grandma has always supported me in everything I've set out to do. She's helped me turn my dreams into reality, from traveling the world to pursuing my interest in medicine. She's taught me that if you just keep swimming, you'll always make it through to the other side. A great example of this came about a month ago when I received a text from my lovely advisor, Ms. Rawlings. She had sent Ava Meta and me a screenshot of an email thread with Mrs. Salatelli saying that our request to be the first chapel advisory had been approved. I wasn't a part of that request. In fact, I was very much against it. But I remembered what my grandma had unintentionally taught me. Everything happens for a reason, and if you just keep swimming and showing up, things have a way of working out. So just remember to keep swimming. Even when you don't want to, like me standing here as the first chapel group, or literally during every 500 free I've ever swum. With that, I'd like to thank all my coaches for literally forcing me to keep swimming through the long, long winters, and especially Mr. Reznov for always putting a smile on my face, except for that one time last year. The biggest thank you goes to Ms. Rawlings for listening to my endless complaints at swim practice, in class, in the dining hall, and even her own house. I also really appreciate you teaching me the value of patience. Can't wait to get my advisory hoodie. Finally, thank you to my old roommate Yazzie and to all my friends for truly understanding me and making living here worth it. Thank you to my mom and Grandma Sue for being my loudest cheerleaders, and my dad for always setting me up for success no matter what. Hi Suffield, my name is Caitlin DeSiena. I'm a four-year senior from Hopewell Junction, New York. Thank you.
Hi Suffield, my name is Meta Feldman and I'm a four-year senior from San Francisco, California. Coming to Suffield, I knew nobody and had no idea what I was getting myself into. Just under a month before I moved onto campus, I received the anticipated email from Mr. Lynch. Housing information. Immediately, I texted the phone number. Hi Kira, I'm your roommate Meta. One day passed, then another. No response. I was being ghosted by the girl I was supposed to live with for the next 9 months. When I first looked Kira up on social media, the only account I could find was a TikTok account with 0 followers and following 2 people. I was absolutely mortified to open her following to see the only people there were Mr. Beast and a Mr. Beast fan page. The next 3 weeks were spent fearing for the worst as I prepared to move across the country to live with a girl who, according to social media, didn't exist. When I walked into my room for the first time and saw a pink-haired girl with headphones hanging from her bed frame, looking like she regretted this arrangement nearly as much as I did, all my fears were confirmed. I still thought that, as my roommate, she was obligated to be my built-in best friend. I quickly learned that she was not. In fact, she despised me. While writing this speech, I asked Kira what she hated the most about me my freshman year. She responded, the way I looked, the way I dressed, my neon orange sheets, how she had to take my phone away until I cleaned, how she had to beg for a different roommate, and how I followed her everywhere, causing her to get uninvited from everything. By the end of my first week of classes here, my only new acquaintances were Mr. Lynch and Mrs. Pillsbury, who were already threatening to send my clothing home if I couldn't get it off the floor of our room. The worst of our rivalry came when we decided to bunk our beds before winter break, in hopes that we could keep the room cleaner with more space. In typical Kira fashion, she stole the bottom bunk and raised both beds, leaving me with just enough room to sit halfway up. When we got back from winter break, our room smelled like it had been growing its own ecosystem. We went through every drawer trying to figure out what had happened. After a week, we stopped blaming each other for the smell and started blaming the room itself. Thankfully, we found my month-old hot chocolate on Kira's bedside table a few weeks later. Over the rest of the year, Kira made it her goal to fix me. While I can't say it worked, at some point, our bunk beds were taken down, our room got cleaner, and Kira dyed our hair back to normal. If you had told me 3 years ago that Kira would still be my roommate now, I probably wouldn't have believed you. Then, we hated everything about each other's existence and couldn't have been more different. Now, after 4 years of living together, we've become the same person for better or for worse. Our room went from having 2 distinct sides to sharing just about everything, from the same closet, the same playlist, and the same Chipotle order. Somewhere along the way, the lines between us disappeared and everything blended together, and that's the way it's been ever since. If you're in your first few weeks of school and think you hate your new roommate because they are emo, weird, or you don't have anything in common with them, Stick it out because they might become one of the most important people in your life. I want to take a moment to thank the other people who have shaped my time at Suffield. Mr. and Mrs. Saroche, thank you for always welcoming me to your home and giving me the second chance I didn't deserve. I would also like to thank Ms. Rawlings, Mrs. Tassoni, and Mrs. Vasilenko for supporting me, challenging me, and helping me grow in ways I will carry with me past Suffield. And of course, none of this would have been possible without my parents, who gave me the opportunity to attend boarding school and stood by my side every step of the way. And finally, Kira, you made Suffield feel like home when I didn't think it ever would. You've seen me at my worst and challenged me at my best. And if I don't say it enough, I love you, because through everything, you not only believed in me, but gave me the strength to believe in myself. You are the hardest worker I know, and your determination pushes me to be the best version of myself every day. Although we may only be roommates for 235 more days, I am so lucky to know that this is just one chapter of a sisterhood that I will have for the rest of my life.
Hi Suffield, my name is Jerry. I'm a 3 years senior from Xi'an, China. Here I would like to thanks to my parents for supporting me and all my friends in school. Suffield is a place, it's a community that takes me beyond the school and teach me important lessons. And I want to dedicate this piece by Buck to all the great memories and to all my friends and my family.
Good afternoon, Suffield. I'm EJ Lee, a 4-year senior from Seoul, South Korea. In addition to the many teams and clubs that belong to campus, I enjoy writing poems and short stories. I would like to share one of my short poems with you today. This poem was inspired by the new start we are all experiencing at this time of the year, as well as a recognition of the eventual end of our time here at Suffield as seniors. Leaving. Of leaving home for the first time, the paints, stains, and burnished floors, of soft nostalgia and the rhymes of doors, snores, and chores, all gone with the feeling that soon this empty house will be filled with laughter and laughter again. So it comes alive cracked asphalt roads. The blemished bricks marked with lives of walls, desks, notebooks, on what gives this home that figure stand, carried within those blowing winds of the red brick houses on Styles Road. So again it comes alive, like that empty house, blemished, torn, and battered, but alive, to be filled with laughter again. Next, I want to give a short thank you to the people that have supported me throughout my high school years. To my friends, especially my roommates, Brian and Hayden. My teachers, teammates, and you. Thank you so much for the most memorable 4 years of my life I'll never forget. To my mother and father, I know that I don't really say this often, but I love you. I love you with all that I have and will have. In every life, I'll be your son. In every other life, even if you're all light years apart, I will find you and tell you that I love you with all that I have. To my parental grandparents, I greatly appreciate your prayers and hope to live up to them in my remaining years of high school and beyond. To my grandma, I'll always be there for you. Even if every part of the world has turned against you, you were and still are the greatest influence in my life. Lastly, to my grandpa. There is a picture of you in my parents' bedroom. You look very stoic in that picture when you sit and tie. But I remember you mostly with a smile, with that floppy hat on and a twinkle in your eyes that no one can match. I hope that you still have my bracelet on with you. I hope that they didn't remove the ashes from the pot. I hope that you still have it on your wrist, like the day I said goodbye for the last time. I know it's too late, but I'm sorry I cried. I'm sorry that I didn't visit much. I miss you too much that now that I think of it. And I know it's too late. All I can do now is remember you and cherish the memories that I had with you. It is of leaving that one fears most, but there always remains something that will make you laugh and remember. Ultima, prima, fusion. The best days are the first to flee. So make something you can remember and laugh about it in that day of leaving. Thank you.
Hi, Suffield. My name is Anna, and I'm a 4-year senior. When people ask me where I'm from, I'm never quite sure how to respond. London, Chicago, and Ohio each feel like home, but responding to that feels both right and incomplete. Moving so many times has taught me a lot. At first, I thought I was merely learning practical things, like how to pack all my belongings into boxes, or how to adapt to a new school. But what writing a speech has forced me to realize is that the real lesson has been about perspective. You don't always appreciate the place or the people in it until it becomes a memory. And once it does, you realize that what made it meaningful wasn't the location itself, but the connections you built and the moments you shared. London. To me, London will always be where I was born and raised, and notably where I gained the paranoia of birds from an unfortunate picnic in Hyde Park. Apart from that, I also remember taking the tube to school, going to the London Zoo on weekends, and watching the Notting Hill Carnival from my bedroom window. I had previously considered this the place where I would live forever, and it was somewhat a wake-up call when my parents surprised us by moving to America. France. While not an actual move, I went to boarding school in Toulouse for 5 months at the age of 10. This obvious adjustment was challenging, and I found myself having to navigate life without my parents in a different country and language. But gradually, I learned how to fend for myself, looking forward to the bakery runs and getting to make the order for fresh bread every morning for our breakfast. Additionally, here is where I decided that I would become a nun, since it seemed like all they did was play with buddies and make jam and bread. This was short-lived, as I realized that they actually did more than what they showed 10-year-old girls. Columbus. This was an adjustment as I had to grow accustomed to the slower pace of suburban life. I also had to grow accustomed to living in a small town where everyone knows everyone. This proved difficult when in a rush, my mother would want to run into her boyfriend from middle school or her old math teacher. Of course, I also had to learn about the fanaticism of American football. From this, I learned not to carpool with Michigan fans to Ohio State Michigan games. Chicago. While recent, I already have memories of frigid winters in my first job, which I realized is much harder than I thought, and suddenly school doesn't seem so bad. What I've realized is that where I'm from isn't really about geography. It's about the experiences and the relationships that have shaped me along the way. To me, home is no longer tied to a single city, house, or country. Home is a feeling, a sense of belonging created through community, friendship, and shared experience. Each move has been a new chapter, and what stays constant is that I've been able to find home in different forms along the way. Finally, Suffield. When people ask how I could possibly go to school away from home, it is clear that they don't understand what a home is. Having grown accustomed to switching dorms and destinations of flights home every year, I've learned to take only what is essential to building a home. At Suffield, I've built my home from friendships and connections. Through sports teams and late-night walks, through random backyards, through every dead silent sit-down lunch table, and through relationships with teachers, even Mr. Lynch. As I've come to the end of my time at Suffield, I see more clearly than ever that home is not a single place. It's the people who surround you, the memories you create, and the way you carry those with you into the next chapter. Each move in my life has taught me that I don't lose a home when I leave. I gain a new one while keeping the old. That realization gives me the confidence moving forward, because wherever I go, I know that I have the ability to create an additional home. So, as we all prepare to write our next chapters, I hope we remember that home isn't something we leave behind, it's something we take with us. Thank you.
Hi Suffield, my name is Seamus Sullivan and I'm a four-year senior from Suffield, Connecticut. Some topics I will be addressing in this speech could be sensitive, so if at any point you need to put your headphones on and tune it out, please feel free to. In my freshman year, I fell into a cycle of procrastinating into the night with barely any work getting done, something a lot of people can probably relate to. The vampire hours, as my dad likes to call them, lasted until the summer and kept their place as part of my academic schedule at the beginning of sophomore year. Now, I'm probably not the first person to tell you this, but your body cannot survive when you're averaging less than 4 hours of sleep per night, so to keep functioning it has to make sacrifices. In many cases, and in mine, your mental health is the first to go. The longer the cycles went on, the darker my life got. Finally, on October 11th, 2023, I had an appointment with a therapist. I was so done with masking how I was feeling that I laid it all out. My feelings of depression, of self-harm, of suicide, and how close I had gotten to acting on these urges. When he asked me if I could guarantee that I would not harm myself before my next appointment, I bluntly told him I couldn't. That day, I was referred to the emergency room at Connecticut Children's Medical Center, where I was waited for 2 days. Then I took an ambulance to Manchester Memorial Hospital's youth psychiatric facility, where I stayed for 1 week before being discharged on October 19th. Now, while I recognize the idea of a psych ward can be scary, I'm here to tell you it's not. In my experience, that week at Manchester was one of the best of my life, and it was entirely due to accepting that it was exactly what I needed. Hollywood has convinced everyone that in a psych ward you get strapped into a straitjacket, a cushioned white room, and injected with sedative, but it is far from the truth. The reality is you have classes on coping methods, play games, and you color. It was a peaceful time where I stopped stressing about everything and I finally started to feel better. Overall, it was the perfect reset for my brain. However, I do have one memory that tends to stick out from my time in the hospital. I was in the car driving home, about to turn my phone on for the first time in a week, when my parents asked what I was going to say when people questioned where I had been. Being the straightforward person I am, I had already made up my mind. I would say, I was in a psych ward. My parents instantly turned around in their seats. They asked with some of the most concern I've heard in their voices, "Are you sure you want to be honest?" Up until that point, I had not doubted at all what I wanted to share, but being questioned about it made me wonder if that was the right choice. Then, in a conversation with teachers about how I would return to school, I was posed the same question. Testing the waters, I answered similarly. I was in a psychiatric hospital. Like with my parents, I was met with a response of shock and even a suggestion of saying just the hospital. Having had a few days to think it through by then, I stuck to my gut of telling the whole truth. Too many people feel forced to hide their journey because of the stigma surrounding mental health, a feeling unfortunately enforced and prevalent nowadays. Just like in that moment, I believe that if I had chosen to hide this in shame, how many of my peers will do the same? If no one knows what anyone else is going through something, then no one will share. All it takes is that one person for us to feel safe to talk about it. And so, I hope that by sharing my journey, I can be the person that makes you feel comfortable and gives you the courage to tell someone how you are truly feeling. You don't have to do this alone. For me, that was past and current friends, faculty and staff here, my therapists, and my family. It never has to be just you.